to the Girl Dad Show.
Welcome to the Girl Dad Show, a professional parenting podcast. Each month, I interview entrepreneurs, leaders, and professionals who are balancing parenthood, life, and profession in the hopes to learn what it takes to be an amazing professional parent. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Dad Show. Today, I had Joey on the show. He is an old college friend that I've known now for over 20 years. And we talk about being girl dads, building businesses, and all the things that go with instilling, the entrepreneurial spirit, but also being, a nurturing parent. It's a really great episode. Joey is one of a kind. He is incredibly passionate about building businesses and being an entrepreneur, and also very, very excited about being a girl dad. And it's a really, really great episode, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Joey, what is up, brother? Thank you for joining me on my show today.
Thanks for having me. Good morning or good afternoon, I guess, where you're at, right?
Yeah, afternoon for me. So what are you at, 11 o'clock over there?
It is 11 o'clock.
On a Friday morning. Thanks for spending your Friday morning with me. That's actually really special.
You know what? It is for both of us. I think anytime you and I get together, it's always a good time. And if we can fit it in to our busy schedules, even better.
Yeah, I love it. So let's just jump right in. So why don't you tell the listeners what you do for a living?
I own a managed IT service company called Elevate Technologies. What do? We do basically anything IT under the sun for some of the Fortune 500 companies all over the U.S. We're headquartered in the Bay Area, which is kind of how we get into companies across the rest of the U.S. So, we do desktop support, we do help desk, we do computer relocation services. So these large companies, what they like to do is they like to shuffle employees around or, move employees from one building to another, expired leases, things like that. So someone has to be responsible for the computer hardware. Yeah. And that's where we come in. So we bring in an army of technicians, trained technicians with a process, and we disconnect their computers. A moving company will physically come in and actually relocate it to wherever it's supposed to go. We come back and we set everything up exactly how it was either disconnected or how the users want it going forward. Maybe they want a cleaner setup, We do that on large scales. We do server relocations, similar idea, obviously, but in data centers. But yeah, that's kind of what we do day in and day out.
It's awesome. And so multiple questions here. So one is most of your business like big project-based projects, project-based like that? Or is there any that's like residual or recurring? What's the percentage breakdown?
The percentage breakdown, honestly, is probably right now 50-50.
Wow. That's great.
The residual, the way it comes in is when I say we do desktop support, we have technicians at client sites and they're out there doing their thing 40 hours a week or more.
So like true IT, like actual, like when I think about IT, like an actual person that like is managing the infrastructure. Yeah. Cool.
So if you were working at a large tech company and you're like, oh man, my computer isn't working, I need to call help desk or get desktop support to come out and help me.
Right.
You could be talking to one of my technicians. A lot of these companies, they subcontract their IT externally.
Yeah. And then, so the second question is, so do most of these companies, have you found, do this in addition to internal teams, or is it mostly just outsourced?
It's a mix of both.
Yeah.
When you're a large company, and you probably already know this, they can only have so many headcount.
Yeah.
I think one way they choose to get around this is to bring in an external provider.
Yeah.
Probably for tax reasons, for ease of growing or shrinking. And it's a lot easier if you want to bring in someone on a temporary basis. We only need someone for 6 months because maybe we're in a growth stage and we're trying to hire someone full time, or we want to try someone out and maybe we're going to hire them down the line. It could be a temp to hire situation. Yeah,
no, it's crazy. I mean, it's so fun because I know we talk regularly about building our businesses because we've kind of started this journey around the same. Well, me a little bit earlier, but by only like half a year, I think, right? But it's like really interesting to think about like what it is that you actually do. Because I don't know if we've actually ever like broken down, like gone like 2 levels deep and actually talked about what it is that we do. It's pretty funny, huh? We're usually talking at a much more higher level. But can how'd you get into this?
Oh, funny story. I was 15 years old at the time. and I would shadow my father to whatever job he was doing. As a little kid, he used to be a copier technician, so I
Oh,
would
what?
shadow
That's
him to
awesome.
his client sites when he's working on a copier. In his suit. I was just kind of there, just watching him do his thing. And one day he was a sales guy for an IT company, and they were running a project, and they were short staffed. So he said, "Hey, do you mind helping out? They'll show you what to do." And I jumped in there. And lo and behold, after the project, they said, "Hey, would you like to work for us?" I said, "Sure." I'm a 15-year-old kid. I don't think I can get a better job than this, right?
Yeah.
I already had a passion for computers, so it was a perfect fit for me. The only obstacle at the time, obviously, was transportation.
Yeah.
Going to all these companies all over the Bay Area. I was living in Watsonville.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
you know, I was in high school. How am I going to commute? So I'm on a permit, trying to drive to all these locations until I turned 16.
Oh my
Once I turned
God.
16, yeah. Once I was 16, though, here I am traveling to places like San Francisco. I didn't know what commuting was like as a
Yeah.
16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Um, but I was making really good money for a young kid, and I don't remember the dollar amount. If I had to guess, it was probably around 17.50 to $20 an hour. And
Wow. Back then, that's
back
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
back in '96, you're talking about more than probably some of my teachers were making in high school. I don't
Yeah, it
know.
was probably double minimum wage back then. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of
yeah,
money back then. Yeah. I remember my first job out of college, I think was like 16 or 17. So obviously if you're doing that at
crazy.
15 or 16 years old, I think that's pretty good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
very accomplished at a very young age.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. So you were kind of doing this right off the bat, like your first kind of job was this.
Yeah, my first real job, we'll say. I did the paper route when I was younger.
Nice.
Um, Terrible experience.
Why? Paper route. That's awesome. That's such a cool idea. I love it. It's like so
For a young,
quintessential, like,
right?
American, like,
It
American job,
is.
you know?
You
Yeah.
think about it and you're like, man, this little 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old, I don't remember how old I was, getting up at like 3 in the morning to roll newspapers, putting a rubber band,
No.
yeah, getting up super, and you're breathing in these fumes of all the ink. I got nauseous one time, I remember.
And then did
Um,
you actually do it on your bicycle?
no, so thankfully, we're a little bit more modernized. So mom would drive me around, and I would throw them out the window or get out of the car and deliver them to the doors. Trust me, I knocked over
Yeah.
antennas, I broke things on people's property.
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was, it was a funny experience.
Yeah.
Um, but
We
yeah,
have to
that's
dig
kind
into
of where
that.
I
So
got
your
started.
mom drove you around, meaning they were very supportive of you working. I'm sure that
Very.
this is like a very adamant, intentional thing that she did then. Because if she's waking up at 3 in the morning to drive you to do your paper route, that's like a heavy prioritization of like work ethic here.
It is. They drilled that into me at a very young age, and I think it was a natural thing for me even because I would get on the school bus, and I would have like a box of candy, and I would be selling it out to the other kids on the school bus. I always liked business. We lived on a golf course when I was a kid. I would collect all the golf balls in our backyard. I would clean them up. I would take them to the tee box. I would resell them to the golfers. Um,
Oh my
I
gosh. So
just
you're always finding a hustle. I love it since you were a kid.
I really enjoyed business and entrepreneurship. And I feel like I'm coming back full circle on it, really.
Yeah, that's right. Because this is after that you went to college. We went to college together, and then
Yeah.
you got jobs, and then you basically started your business. What was it, like a year and a half ago, right?
Ooh, man, now it's the middle of 2020, so we're looking at 2.5 years almost
2020, has it been 2.5 years?
because it started during the pandemic.
So it started in the pandemic. So then that's 1 year in 2021, 2 years in 20. Oh, yeah. It could be past 2 years.
Crazy.
I think I started mine like, I want to say like 4 months before you.
Must have been.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think I started mine like March of 2020, like right before the lockdown happened in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember it because I was like, okay, I'm launching my business, and I launched it, and then literally 2 days later, the city announced a mandate, lockdown mandate, and Amy's like, "Go get a job, go get a job, don't do this, go get a job." That was so funny.
You're all,
So
this is
I
a sign.
exactly like this is not a good sign that I'm launching my business, and then all of a sudden the world like shuts down, you know. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's like kind of seared in my brain. I just didn't think about the math that I've actually been doing this for a lot longer than I realized. So I'm actually headed towards my third year. Then that's wild. That's awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah. No,
so are you?
time flies.
Yeah. And then let's talk about your kid. Who is she, and how old is she, and what's the
Let's
best thing
see.
about her? Yeah.
My beautiful Adriana is 6 years old. Of course, she's, on my phone, just
Yeah. There you go. There
my
you go.
princess. Honest,
Yeah.
she's an angel. Love her to death. Um, there's no greater joy than parenthood, I think, at least for
Yeah.
me. Of course, I love business and I love my wife, but a different type of love for your kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And I didn't even realize how much I could love until my kids came. But I will say that the question I have for you is really around like what made you take the leap of faith, or the what made you basically start a business when you had a kid? Because I'm assuming that you had a lot of mental gymnastics to get to that conclusion that you were going to do this, and had to calculate a lot of things. But walk me through your thought process on that. Like, why would you start a business? As you're headed into this pandemic, and you have a kid, and obviously have a lifestyle and all those things.
So I honestly believe that the greater the risk, the greater the reward. I was taught that in school, and it truly has come to fruition in real life. Um, I was working for an IT company before this, and I was making good money, and I had a plan. I had a plan to eventually be either part owner or full owner of an IT company.
Regardless.
Um, Regardless, and it was the plan. The CEO knew it. We had a plan together, and towards the end of my stint there, we were drawing up documents for me to purchase the IT portion of her company, which I had essentially built up.
Yeah.
Um, and the pandemic happened. Things kind of went awry. For whatever reason, the deal didn't go through, and I left myself in a situation where it was like, well, what do you want to do, Joey? You can stay doing what you're doing, and you could live a normal, good life,
Yeah.
or you can make that risk, and if it doesn't pan out, go back to what you were doing. Um, there were plenty of companies that still wanted to hire me doing what I do.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. Try this. If I don't try this, I'm going to regret it. And I'm happy I did. It was my plan to always own an IT company, and here I am owning one. We've been very successful. Uh, we're hovering probably around 80 employees right now.
Wow,
Um,
that's amazing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's great. I love seeing the type of people we put at companies and watching them grow. I'm not the youngest person anymore in the industry. I'm
Yeah.
definitely more seasoned.
Yeah.
Doing this for 27 years now
Yeah.
is a long time. Um, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's plenty of gray hair to prove it.
That's
Um,
wild, man. That's a huge growth trajectory. Oh my gosh. Now, my competitive side's coming up where I'm like, dang, that's a lot of growth in 2 years. That's fantastic, man. That's really, really, really amazing. I
that's a
love that.
good kind of competitiveness, right? When you
Yeah.
have a buddy who also owns his own company, or in my instance, I also have a neighbor who owns his own company. Um, you're like, oh, watch them grow. Oh, they're growing, they're growing. Oh, I want to grow. I want to keep getting bigger too.
That's right. Oh no, I completely agree with you. I think that it's like I say that tongue in cheek, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like talking to you once a month, and just like making sure we stay in touch, because I think you want to surround yourself with people that are doing the similar things, because it's kind of a lonely journey. And it's hard to
It is.
explain to people what it's like to build something, because it's not easy building a business. And there are problems that are not normal. And then if you get to your scale, obviously you're obviously doing something right. But you also want to keep getting that emotional and mental support, but also just understanding that there's even more out there, right? Like back to what you were talking about, that competitiveness, right? So you don't feel settled or satiated. You're like, oh my God, there's more, there's more, there's more. And I can't help but look at the sign that you have on your wall there. It's like really funny and apropos to this conversation. Yeah. That's a really
That's too
interesting
funny.
motivational poster. I've never seen that before. I've seen the hustle. I have the the hustle, grind, success, that stuff, but I've never seen that one. That's really funny. So talk to
That's
me
a good
about that.
one.
Why'd you put that up there? Is that just to kind of remind you that
I have three posters in my office, my home office.
yeah,
Um, One is a picture of what looks like an American Express card, and it says "Hard work, the price you pay for success."
yeah,
Because success doesn't come without hard work. I've
yeah,
definitely put in lots of long hours. My body is ached coming home. But you can't get to a certain place in your career without it. Unless
yeah,
you're extremely lucky, or you're born into a family, that's got a lot of means. It's very difficult to get to this stage on your own. Then I have another poster to my left of me. It says you can't deposit excuses, because truthfully, I mean, people are always making excuses out there. Oh, I can't do this because of this. I can't do this because of this. One
yeah,
thing I've known for in the Valley is people come to me because I'm going to make it happen. Even if I don't know how to make it happen right this second, I will make it happen.
yeah,
Um, and then this final one, if you can still count your money, work harder. You know,
yeah,
there's no real end goal when it comes to money. You can honestly, sky's the limit, right? You can just keep
yeah,
making an abundance of it. You know, I don't think I'll ever be at the level of a Jeff Bezos or a Mark Zuckerberg, but I'm very, very content not just on making the money, but helping others make money too. It's really fun to watch.
yeah.
Um, Watching friends, families, colleagues grow their careers, and get stock options at these large companies, and do very well for themselves.
I have a couple of these motivational signs too, because I think it's really powerful what you surround yourself with, right? It kind of goes hand in hand with who do you hang out with and who do you talk to keep yourself focused. But it also is a good daily reminder. But I have the six things like execution, success, hustle, grind, perseverance, and I don't even know what the other one is, but oh, persistence. And then on the right here, I have the
Yes.
opposite of you actually, which is why I thought that sign was funny. But I have what $1 million a year broken down is. So it just says $1 million a year broken down by month, a week, a day, and so it basically makes everything more palatable. It's oh yeah, okay, you just got to focus on that small number. And then that small number equals the bigger number. But not that $1 million is the goal, right? I mean, that's not necessarily what I'm striving for. But the point of it is to really have a number to shoot for. But in your case, your poster is more like money is not a goal. It's just you just keep making more of it if you want, right? That's a really
Pretty
interesting
much.
take on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I
How do you
mean,
think about your daughter with money? And are you gonna try to be as take a card from your take a page from your parents' book and help her be an entrepreneur, or what are you going to do there?
I don't want to put her in any sort of direction. I want her to pick a direction. I want her to enjoy life.
Yeah,
But I do want her to be conscious of money. It just doesn't grow on trees, as the old saying says. She's well aware things cost money. She has her own piggy bank. She knows things cost money. She goes in there and she'll pull money out of her piggy bank to go buy a toy.
yeah,
Or when she receives money, oh, Dad, I want to save this, because she understands saving is just as important. Um, but I want her to try everything, and then I'll support whatever direction she wants to go.
yeah. And she's also the same age as my kid, and it's just really hard to have complex conversations with them. So you have to slowly break it in. And I've been struggling with how do I do that with Lily and Grace, right? Grace is really young; she's 3 years old, but Lily's at least 5.5, and so. She'll make comments, I had a really funny conversation with my wife this morning about a playground. So I'm going to get them a pretty nice playground here for Christmas, right? And
Nice.
so it'll be $5,000 or $6,000. And then And that's actually coming down from the $12,000 one I wanted. I wanted two forts with the walkway. So Amy talked me down to the $5,000 one. But she found like a used playground that had, you know, more basic stuff for like $300, right? It's like a metal one. It's not wood. Like I got one that's wood and colorful and like all fun and all the little doodads on it. She found an old, like really good one, just like these sturdy metal one, you know, and it's awesome. And I was like, we're talking about it back and forth, and she's like, oh, they're selling it for $300. You just need to go see if it's, you know, good enough, or like, you know, if it's rusted or whatever. And I was like, how much is it brand new? And, you know, and she was like, oh, it's $1,200 brand new. And I'm like, oh, okay, so by the time I go there and then I look at it and I want it, I'll have to go grab a truck, and then, you know, undo it, move it, set it up, and then it'll probably take me roughly about 6 or 7 hours. Like at that point, like it's just cheaper just to buy a new one. It's just cheaper to buy a new one and just like have it installed. And so if anything, like we'll just get the $5,000 one and this one if you really want this one, but I'd rather just get it new. And I mean, obviously we debated this conversation a little bit more, but Lily jumped in and and said, Dad, why do you always talk about money when it comes to, you know, stuff, right? And I basically said, I tried my best to explain, because I was like, these are those opportunities, right? To like instill the lessons in life and money. And I was like, no, it's not that I'm talking about money, I'm talking about the value of time. You know, you got to think about where your time is best allocated and used, not so much the money aspect of it, right? And so I was trying to explain this to her, and I'm realizing she's like, not understanding a thing that I'm saying. So I'm like trying to figure out like 10 different ways to explain it to her. And I like lost her by the fourth one, right? She's just like, she doesn't care. She just wants the playground, you know? Yeah. So do you have any of these moments where you try to like explain some complex theories around in money and business?
Oh yeah. All the time. You know, the concept of time to these kids is, you know, they eat and they play. That's all they do. So in fact, even when I was a kid, you know, I would forego eating sometimes just so I could play more.
Yeah.
That was my concept of time, and my daughter does the same thing. I see her, honey, you need to finish your meal because you know you need these nutrients. I'm not hungry anymore. You know what? I just want to go over here and I want to play, or I want to be on my iPad, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to be, or at least for me, I'm very strict when it comes to that. No, I'm going to take away your toys if you don't finish your meal, and then you can go do your thing. It's funny though, some of the things you were mentioning earlier, I'm just kind of wondering if entrepreneurs really do think alike, because time is so important to the fact where you're like, oh, I'd rather just pay for it, have someone, you know, build it or whatever. I did the same thing. When I bought our playground, I went on Costco, I bought it, had the Costco people install it. The time it would have taken me to do that is time I really don't have, or time I could be putting into my own business, right? I had a conversation this morning with a guy, a buddy of mine. I was telling him, oh yeah, we're installing an in-ground trampoline right now. And, you know, it's very expensive to even have the hole dug out just for this thing.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, why don't you just dig it yourself? I go, first of all, that's going to take a lot of time, energy, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would rather just pay the professional to do it, have it done right, and I'll concentrate on what I do for work.
That's right. Yeah, I think that you're right. I think there's a common thread with entrepreneurs, right? Like you are always trying to find operational efficiency and then maximizing for revenue and time and all those things. But it's a really interesting concept to try to teach kids. And it's really funny because I must have talked about it a lot, because when Amy and I make decisions about purchasing things, we always compete, right? Because Amy would rather save $1 any chance she gets. And I would much rather just spend money and like do what's convenient and fast, you know? Because like, for me, it's like, how do I maximize, you know, my time, right? And that's really what I try to focus on. And especially if it's within a realm of like, hey, I could actually make more than that in that time frame of work. It's a really bad way to think about life, to be honest with you, because when you get too into it, you also forget that you should also spend that time, you know, in different ways that are, you know, like Amy says this a lot. She'll say like, you know, like even just like gardening together, you know, although we could pay someone to do it, but we should do it, and we can do it as a family, and it's like bonding moments and things like that. So I think there's value to that, but it's hard to like unwire your brain to think like that, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
When you're in like this efficiency growth mode, you're like, oh, grow, 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 you know?
Oh yeah, especially when you're in the growth mode. I remember my first real moment where I could just say, hey, you know what? There is an efficiency that I'm missing out on, and I was a young person actually. It had to do with washing my car. I had always washed my car. I never took my cars to car washes, and
Yeah.
then I started putting it together. How much time am I spending washing my car? I should
Yeah.
be doing something else. It cost, well, at the time, let's just say it cost maybe $20 to have your car washed. It's like, yeah, I should be having someone else do that, and I should take, the 3 hours of my life back to put it into something else.
Yeah.
Or when I had a roommate after college, we had a house cleaner. There's the time it would spend cleaning the house all the time, plus the arguing back and forth with the roommate. Is it really worth it? Pay $75 for this house cleaner to come in and clean your house.
Right.
Much better, more efficient, and yeah. But coming back to your point, there are things that you need to spend time doing, especially meaningful moments. The gardening thing, we've definitely experienced that. We have a gardener, but even with the gardener, we'll go out there and do our own thing. Bringing your daughter out there and having her water the plants and maybe plant a new plant or flower.
Yeah.
Those are moments that are creating memories. They're teachable moments. There's certain things you just can't forego or you shouldn't forego, because you're going to miss out.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why it's so good that, my partner is such an opposite of me, because I think that when I think about how extreme I am into like operationalization and time management, and she's like basically normal, right? And so it helps us like come to the middle and have some semblance of normality, because the kids get washed with both, right? I'm hoping they're definitely much more like her. I mean, they're 3 and 5, like you said. All they want to do is eat and play, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm hoping as they get older, they'll learn these concepts. And I just like have a hard time explaining it right now, right? Because like, I gotta get better at like explaining this concept of time, time and money. But it's very sophisticated stuff, right? It's not easy to explain, and so I give myself a little bit of latitude, but I do need to work on how to explain it, because I really butchered it this morning. I had an opportunity to talk to her about it. She asked, and I totally messed it up. And what they say is like if you haven't really mastered it or understand it until you can explain it to a 5-year-old, right? And so now I have a 5-year-old to explain it to. So I got to figure out a way to explain it more simply. So because I do want her to understand it. She doesn't necessarily have to be it, right? I don't mind if she's not an entrepreneur, but or Grace either, right? Both the kids, I don't mind. I want them to be able to do whatever they want realistically, but I definitely want them to understand it, right? Like understand how this stuff works. And so it's some of the stuff that like I wish I learned when I was younger, and now that I'm starting to learn it at in the later part of my life, I'm like, man, I really wish I had this knowledge when I was younger. I'd be so much better off right now than I was.
You say that, and you kind of wonder, because all of your experiences before this led you to this place in your life.
It's true. It's true.
Had you had all that education of what you think is important back then, yes, you would have maybe grown your business earlier. It would have been bigger. You would have more money, but in the end, I mean, would that have made you happy?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, because now that I think about it, what makes me happy, what my singular focus and goal is to get to this place where I can, choose to work. And so meaning like I have, it's not necessarily like a retirement save. I don't want to necessarily a lump sum. It could be a lump sum, but I think it'll end up being a partial lump sum and then partially passive, semi-passive income, right? And then the change in my mind will go, okay, I hit that marker where I can work if I want to, not because I need to. And that's really where I want to get to, because I really want to back to controlling time. I really want to get back to controlling my time and doing what I want to do when I want to do it and spend more time with my kids. And that's kind of the whole reason why I've been hustling so hard over the last couple of years, is like just trying to figure out how to do that. And you need money to do that. And so then you go back to, okay, I need to build a lot of revenue from this business to go deploy and, build assets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when I first thought of the word success and the definition of success, if you would ask me at the age of 20, versus the age of 30 versus the age of 40. Oh man, it's changed a whole lot.
Yeah. Talk to me about what it is now. What is it now? Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Well, at 20, I don't know if you could agree, but man, I just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
30 was kind of like that point where I was not old enough, but not too young, where I almost wanted more recognition and respect from my peers. And I knew the money would follow, kind of thing. At 40, now I want to just, spend time with my family, give my kid everything that either I didn't have or I had, anything that just makes her happy. Success on the business end of it to me is just, I think it's just going to happen. It's just, you do good work, you follow through with what you say you're going to do, and the money and everything else just kind of follows. I don't think it's a mystery that, the reason the company's grown the way it has, is because, I have this secret, recipe on how this just happened. No, these clients, they trust me with these large projects.
Right.
They know I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and they keep coming back to me for it. We've got a great team of individuals. And one thing I'm doing different than I would have done at a previous company, being in sales, you don't touch on every aspect of your business. I'm doing something that may not be the right thing to do, but I enjoy doing it. And that's interviewing every person, every employee that comes into my company. So I feel very comfortable putting them out there to client sites. They feel comfortable interacting with me, and I get to watch them grow. And it's just a different type of happiness that gives me. And comfortability, not having a recruiter just do that part of it, send these people out there and I'm just selling a service. I feel like I'm very hands-on that way, to a detriment maybe, I don't know. It's working. So we'll see. Maybe 10 years from now, I'll have a different idea of what it is.
No, I mean, I think what you're talking about is like finding your culture, right? The culture that you're creating within your company. It's like the balance of like, employee engagement and care, customer, value and care, and then your desire to generate revenue for the business, right? I mean, those are really the three legs of the business, right? And different cultures are basically just variants of those three things. Like how much do you focus on one of those things, And it sounds like you have a good balanced view on it, right? And that's awesome. It's very, very awesome. I think that that's really key. And so although it may sound like it's unscalable because you're not paying a recruiter to go do it, that cost and time is actually worth it because you're building that personal relationship with that person. And so like I do unscalable things all the time. Like in my pool service business, we do a lot of unscalable things. We pay above market rate, we pay medical and dental, we hire for diversity. Like we just do a lot of unscalable things that are not best for revenue. But we do that intentionally because there's like a feel that comes with that, right? You attract people. You don't have to worry about turnover as much, and you can ask for more from them to deliver better service to the customers. Like there's just more stuff, right? So I think it's like I don't think that that's bad at all. I think you're just defining your culture. You're building your place, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just say before I even started this business, I interviewed a lot of CEOs. I wanted to see what was the dollar amount that they made in revenue that made them the happiest.
Oh yeah,
some of these. I did.
Wait, personally or as a company?
Both.
Okay,
Both.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear this. Yeah.
The number that came about every single time, I don't know why, it was $5 million in revenue. After $5 million, it became a headache. There was so much going on. They changed as people. The culture of the company changed.
Yeah.
So as I grow my own company, I have that in my head, just thinking, okay, there's going to be this dollar amount that we're going to hit, and I want to get there the right way. I really do. And it's going to be with what you said, the company culture. And I want to let all of these people know that I care. I don't know if you've worked for somebody before where you felt like maybe a number.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. You don't learn how to be a good boss unless you've had some bad ones, you know?
Yeah, and trust me, I've definitely had good ones and bad ones. I can take the good ones and the good things from them and apply them to this business, and remember the bad ones and what they did and how they made me feel, and keep that out of the company culture.
Yeah, it's awesome. How do you thinking about parenting? Like I know you dabbled on that a little bit, but have you always known you wanted to be a dad, and like what's the 20, 30, 40 success profile?
I'm an odd person. I literally have had everything kind of mapped out in my head, from college to work to marriage to having a kid. The obstacle that me and my wife ran into was right at that time where I knew I wanted to have a kid and I wanted to be a dad. She wasn't physically able to have a kid. And it made me wonder, all the things that I wanted might not come to fruition on the child aspect. So, we started looking at in vitro, we started looking at adoption, and,
Oh
I
wow.
thought to myself, man, I want to be a dad so bad. And it just, one way or another, I want to make it happen. And then my wife, she went for a surgery. She had some fibroids removed, and lo and behold, it's a funny story. This was our anniversary of, I don't remember what year it was, but this was November of many years ago, 6+ years ago, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
She gives me this gift for our anniversary, and it's the pregnancy test. And I'm looking at it going, no way, this really happening? Like I had counted it out already that we couldn't get pregnant.
Oh my gosh. You
Yeah,
went through
and
the emotional mental journey of just counting it out.
oh my gosh, it was like the happiest moment. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, thank you. This is the best gift you've ever given me. I was ready. So when I think of my daughter, I think of her as my miracle baby. I didn't think we were going to have one. And then years from then, I wanted to have another one, and we haven't been able to. More for my daughter to have someone to play with.
Yeah.
But now my daughter's 6 years old, and me and my wife kind of talked about it. We're like, oh, does it really make sense now? I don't feel like the kid we have now will be so much an interactive play person for her. It'll be more of one kid's probably babysitting the other kid. And that's kind of where I'm at with that right now.
I didn't even know that you had those challenges, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like it was one of the most emotional moments in your life. It sounds like it was a pretty.
It was. Well, because
Yeah,
especially for someone who plans their whole life out, and then the one thing that he wants, he can't have, and there's no amount of money that can make that happen.
yeah,
And it, by some miracle, it happened, and that's my daughter.
yeah.
She's everything to me. Absolutely,
Congratulations, man. That's an amazing story, and thanks for sharing that. That's awesome, dude. I
absolutely.
I bet that like I have to I have to ask and kind of trivialize this magical moment, because does that make you more of a pushover, or does that make you want to like instill more like knowledge and fiercity to her?
When you were younger,
Yeah.
and your parents were scolding you, you probably told yourself, "Oh man, when I'm a parent one day, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be the nicest person ever to my kids, right?"
Right.
And I thought that too until I actually had a kid, and I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? No, I'm just going to be the nicest parent. But in reality, it just kind of whatever's supposed to happen happens. And in my case, I'm able to be strict and a pushover at the same time. It's very weird. My daughter wants something. Of course, I want to give it to her within reason.
Hmm.
Um, my wife spends more time with my daughter day in and day out, um, being the stay at home mom, and I can see the battle that she has with our kid. On certain things, do this. Oh, I don't want to do that kind of thing. But for some reason, I don't know if it's the tone of my voice or whatever. When I say something, my daughter listens, so I don't really have that back and forth with her. She doesn't argue with me, and I like that. But then I'm also the fun dad. When dad does this, we're gonna go
Yeah.
have fun. We have daddy-daughter dates. She
Yeah.
loves them. Um, Man, there's so much that that I do with her that is just there. My wife can't do, and there's so much that my wife does with her that I can't do.
Yeah.
Um, it's a fun experience though.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. That's really great, and I appreciate you sharing all the things that you do with her as well. I mean, I'm trying to be, more disciplined about, parenting as a thing, right? Because I think for me, it's like I don't know, man. I'm like, I thought I'd always be this kind of like, okay, I'm going to teach my kids values. I'm going to teach my kids, how to make money and be entrepreneurial and like change, design and control their life, right? Like all those things. And then the reality is that like day in and day out, I'm the exact opposite of what I'm at work. I'm literally the biggest pushover. Like they're like, no, we should get donuts. And I'm like, no, it's a terrible idea. We're going to get sick or whatever. And like, no, we really should get donuts. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. We should get donuts. And then we go get donuts, right? Like they already know that they could like rock me very easily and get what they want. And they'll know I'll laugh about it. And I just like give in because it's just like so fun for me, right? I just like love like being able to like, I don't know. It's terrible, right? So it's just like, and maybe I'll change. But Amy tells me all the time, like she's like, I feel like I have 3 kids because like you literally like do whatever they want. To the point where Lily actually said the other month, it was just me and the girls, and Grace was asking me for something, and Lily like flippantly, she didn't even I don't even think she meant to do it to me, but she was just telling Grace, she was like, "Mom's not here. You just tell him what you want. You don't have to ask." And I'm like, "What the hell?" It was so funny, right? But it's just funny to think about like, like how you operate at work, and then asking other entrepreneurs and parents like how they do that, right? Because like I struggle with it big time. Like I can't find that balance. I'm such a pushover. I'm like full on fun dad, all the time.
Isn't that part of being a girl dad though?
I think
Versus being a
so.
boy dad? I
Yeah, I think
mean,
so.
the saying is like, you got daddy wrapped around your little finger, right? Because
That's right.
they
That's
do.
right. Yeah,
They
that's right.
totally do.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That makes me feel a lot better. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, trust me. My wife tells me don't give her candy, and the first thing I'm going to do is I give her candy. I did it. I did it last night. She was in the bath, and I went in there and I snuck her some sour gummy something or others.
I love
She
it.
said, "I just told you not to do that." I'm all, "Oh, I didn't hear you."
Yeah, exactly. Amy is leaving me for the weekend with the girls, and she's leaving tonight, and she's already like trying to prep me, like, hey, like take it easy, make sure they get some vegetables, like take it, and I'm like, it's gonna be mayhem. I'm just gonna tell you right now because I
We're
think
going to
this is
build forts.
Oh yeah, like we're gonna do do a sleepover in the living. I'm gonna pull my mattress out and sleep in the living room. We're gonna like all sleep in the downstairs, watch movies till we go to bed. Like it's gonna be bad, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
That's awesome. That sounds like a good time.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're gonna be tired and cranky when my wife comes home. But how often and I don't. I mean, obviously, I don't really have that many opportunities to do that. So like so Amy's usually just always with the kids or with us, right? And so she's rarely away. And so we just started this kind of thing where she's starting to like do her own things as the kids are going to school now, and like they're starting to have more time, and we're starting to like separate those two things a little bit. But this is a big deal because Amy doesn't really leave. So it's kind of like party on. I'm gonna like, yeah, rock it out this weekend.
It is, and I think that's healthy for your relationship too. Make sure the wife gets out and she does her thing. Her life, yes, is revolves around the kids, but I mean, she's got to find her own identity and enjoy her own things.
Yeah. Does your wife work?
No, she doesn't. Well, I can't say that.
Yeah.
So two things. She's a 24/7 mom, which is definitely a full-time job.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
holds down the fort here. She takes care of the house stuff, but she actually helped me with my business as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she helped me with the hiring onboarding process, job postings, time cards, anything I can get her in to help me out with is great. For her to understand the business and to help me out.
That's awesome,
When I first
man.
met my wife, she worked in an office, so she's no stranger to that type of work. It's just that, when we had our first kid, she just kind of went full mom mode, and that's the direction she wanted to go.
Yeah. That's kind of with Amy too. I love this conversation a lot. I wish we had more time because I think this is actually a really interesting topic. But we kind of had this conversation about like the kids transitioning and her having a lot more open time and like, she's going to get involved in the PTA and like try to find, get back to like finding who she is a little bit, right? Because there's like this 5 or 6 hour gap every day now. And I'm really excited for it because I think that she's dedicated so much of herself to the family for the last like 5.5 years, right? And so it's a really big dedication. And I think that, it's a lot to ask for someone, especially someone that doesn't like change, to change and then now change again, right? Like it's got to be really, really challenging, but it's so important. I think it really is important. And that's really great that you can work with her because I don't know if I can. Amy and I are so different that I just would get so like frustrated and she'd get so frustrated with me. And we just think so differently, like we're just such opposites about almost everything. And it would just be very, very challenging. But we've been trying to like incorporate things like, because she's like, we did talk about this saying like,
right.
If I died tomorrow, like she doesn't actually understand like all the different assets we own. Like she knows that there's a pool service company. She knows there's a bunch of real estate investments. She knows that, there's video production. She knows that there's all these different things, but she doesn't know. Like, how does the money come in? How do you get that money out? Like, where does that money go? Like, she doesn't know how to navigate it. So it's kind of it's a really interesting point in a blind spot. So over the last month or two, we've been like figuring out ways to have her, help with different things like processing mail and then putting things away, but more for the sake of like, I never thought about it, right? I was just like, it's more efficient for me to do it. But the reality is, dude, we could die.
Yeah.
We could die.
Life is very unknown. And as I'm sure in your life, you've known young people to pass away and you're like, man, that came out of the blue. Didn't expect that. And it could happen to anybody anytime.
That's right. I know.
Life's short.
Enjoy it, right? And appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
That's a good segue to my rapid fire questions. So as we head on to the top of the hour here, let me fire off the questions I like to ask every guest, and then we'll get you on your way. So Joey, what advice do you have for other parents and soon-to-be parents?
Ooh, parents of kids at a certain age, because I feel like there's so much to say.
Yeah, there's a lot, isn't there? Whatever you want.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's a very generic opening question. Yeah, you just shoot off. Whatever comes top of mind.
So I have a brother-in-law that just had a kid,
Nice.
and I gave him as much advice as I could before he had the kid. I said, stop reading all the books. It's not going to help you. Every kid's different. Every parent's different. So be prepared to be sleep deprived. You're going to think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can live off of this amount of sleep. And you can. Trust me, you can.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when it happened, he went through it and he's like, whoa. Like, and they're still struggling, with a newborn. But I think that was so hard for me and my wife especially, waking up in the middle of the night with a crying baby, and you could see them breaking down. You're like, hold on. It's going to be okay. I'll take the baby. We'll go to another room.
Yeah, take a nap.
Go relax. Yeah, just please take a load off. Just
God, I remember those
everything
days,
will be
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot
Super
believe
hard.
how little you can sleep off of. And it's crazy because almost every parent goes through it, right? I think that's actually, sorry to digress from your story here, but I think that's what happens when you become a parent. Like your empathy just like blows up. You have all this judgment before kids. You're like, oh, if I was a parent, I would never do that. Or if I'm a parent, I'm going to have all these things. And then you go through that 2 or 3 year span where you don't sleep. And then now you're just like, oh, I'm sure they're just really tired. And your empathy for all parents just like skyrockets. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Oh,
you're just
absolutely.
Like, yeah. Now I don't have have any judgment at all. Like all my judgment's gone because I'm just like, they're probably just tired. Like that kid is, not sleeping well or whatever that may be.
I think, honestly, we're all in a club. If you're a parent, you're in the parent club.
That's
we
right.
can all relate to everything that you're going to go through or you've been through.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, a buddy of mine was telling me, oh yeah, we're on an airplane and his kid was crying. He's like, oh, I felt so bad for everybody. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, if there's other parents on that plane, they understand.
Totally.
It's the people that don't have kids that are going to be like, oh, there's a crying baby. It's ruining my flight experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. All right, let me move on to the next one. So if you can go back and tell yourself one thing before having kids, what would you tell yourself?
Ooh, Probably what I'm telling other people. Throw away the books, man. I read books,
Yeah.
parenting books, and I don't feel like I'm using any of the advice they gave me. I feel like my kid is leading me into what I should be doing, and I'm figuring it out along the way, and it's working out. Oh, you need to have your kid sleeping in a separate room by this age. Oh, your kid needs to be walking at this age. Doing this and that. Every kid is different. Every parent is different. Things will work itself out.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually a really good way to look at it. And in hindsight, I wish I had more of that. That's really, really clever advice. I love that. What is the most surprising thing that you've learned about yourself after becoming a parent?
Something you touched on earlier. There is this insurmountable amount of love you can have for your kid. You didn't even know before you had your kid that you could love that much.
Yeah.
And once you had your kid, you're like, oh my gosh, this kid is everything. I would do anything for this kid. I would lay down my life for this kid.
Yeah.
And that's really it, honestly.
It's crazy, right? Yeah. It's
It
just
is.
unbelievable. Yeah. It's unexplainable and unbelievable. Yeah. What's your all-time favorite business book?
Ooh, lots of good ones out there. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you've probably heard that one before.
Oh yeah, I love that one. Yeah, it's a good one.
That is definitely a good one. Honestly, some speakers, Tony Robbins.
Nice.
Man, I used to listen to his stuff over and over and over, especially while driving to client sites and commuting.
Oh,
I
really?
didn't even know what the radio was for the longest time. I would just listen to these. And it was a boss of mine that he actually gave me I think they were CDs at the time, and said, hey, just borrow these, listen to them. And I would. And that stuff probably stuck with me more than anything.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know you were juicing up on Tony Robbins. That's great.
I
That's
was.
awesome. Yeah, I've been doing podcasts recently. Like every morning I wake up and listen to My First Million, and I listen to weekly All In. And it's crazy what it does to your psyche. Just like
It does.
it's so weird because like you just think that, oh, it's just a podcast, and I usually just listen to music. Now I swapped it out with these podcasts, but even after doing it for a few weeks, like your mindset starts to change. Like you can like feel yourself thinking differently and like thinking more. I don't know. It's pretty interesting how you could like mind hack by just listening to these things. But that's a great one. I like that. And then when you're not building, the next biggest IT empire in Silicon Valley and being a super girl dad, what do you do for fun? What's your downtime activities?
Ooh, a downtime. I have two right now that I could say are my number one go-tos, and one of them helps me just start my day every day, and that's working out. I work out in my garage. It used to be the gym before the pandemic. It helps me get my day started, my mind focused. It kind of keeps me on path of where I need to be. I wake up early in the morning. I drink my coffee. I watch my news, and then I go to the garage and I work out. And then after
Awesome.
that, I really get my day started. But the other thing that's more leisurely is golf. I've been golfing
Nice.
since I was 6 years old. I'm golfing with a buddy tomorrow morning down in Monterey.
Nice. Oh God, I miss Monterey so much. That's awesome.
I love Monterey. I don't get to golf as much as I would like to, and
Yeah.
every golfer will probably tell you the same thing, but I really don't. I golf maybe 6, 7 times a year. But when I was young, especially in high school, I would golf every single day.
Yeah.
But that's a joy of mine. I love snowboarding. I haven't done that in a while. We used to go snowboarding back in the day.
Yeah. I haven't been in a really long time.
Yeah. You know what's funny? And I know this about you too. You love music, right?
Yeah.
You. I don't know if you write music, but you definitely sing music and you perform music. And as I got older, my love for music hasn't really changed, but I don't listen to as much music anymore because I'm taking in things like a podcast, or I'm educating myself with something else. Even on the road, I'm on the phone with clients. I'm not listening to music like I used to. That's probably one thing I miss because I really, really enjoyed music. I couldn't tell you who any of the new music artists are right now.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's crazy. But that's really cool too, man. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about all of this stuff. It's been a really, really enjoyable hour. I really appreciate you being my friend and my entrepreneurial buddy through these experiences, and then also a fellow girl dad that, just so many relational points here, and then being able to share all of this on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. And obviously, our friendship goes back so far. I love seeing that we have these similar paths, and I don't even know, because we went a large gap without really talking to each other, and yet here we are right back, like
like nothing happened.
Yeah, but we had similar things in common when we were in college. With our snowboarding, obviously being in college, same degree.
Yeah.
And then you have all this gap in between, and you kind of wonder what happened to that person. Guess what? We're right on the same path again. It's like with similar interests and everything.
So crazy, right? Yeah, it's good times, man. It's really fun way of articulating that. Yeah, and that's a really good way to end the episode too. So I'll see you next month at our regular meeting. Okay, we'll talk some more. Keep hustling, brother. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
You too.
All right, bye.
Thanks, Jan. Bye.
Thank you again for listening to the Girl Dad Show. To help our show grow, please let us know who we should interview next by filling out the form on our website or commenting below.